New sports guidance says trans women retain physique, stamina, and strength advantages when competing in female sports, even when they reduce their testosterone levels. Imagine my surprise. All right, welcome back to the channel today, everyone. So the UK Sports Council has now just put out new guidance on trans sports. So I just wanted to bring you the latest. So the headline from the BBC says transgender inclusion, fairness, and safety often cannot coexist, says major review. So then the article kind of goes on a little bit more. It says kind of what I've been saying, that private sports organizations are still kind of in control of their rules. So it says the governing bodies for each sport should work out their priorities and consider whether they will focus on inclusion, having trans people in there, or competitive fairness, and then safety. So those are three things that are pretty much what we've been talking about in the sports world. You can have some sports may not need to be exclusive because they are not physical. You need to look at like strength-based sports like weightlifting, because are you really prioritizing competitive fairness, or are you going to include trans people even though they have an advantage in that area? Or are you going to focus on safety, like in my video with Area where we talked about combat sports and stuff like that? Because combat sports, you're not focusing on safety if you're focusing on inclusion in a lot of ways. So we have seen this coming for a while now, right? World Rugby banned trans people on safety grounds last year. The IOC, or the International Olympic Committee, stated after the Tokyo Olympic Games that the data had changed since they first started to include trans people, which back in 2015. So then, as recently as of last year, there was a study that came out that showed that trans people have an advantage for at least 2 years on HRT, but it was 2 years plus because the data only goes out to 2 years. So that's important because the plus has to be in there because they really don't know how far it goes. They know it's at least 2 years. Now, what's also interesting is a lot of people have brought this up on past videos and everything like that is in order to be inclusive in a women's division, they've created a women's division and they are recommending an open division. So you have biological females who would compete in the women's division, and then you have an open division for trans people. Now, how well this will perform, it has yet to be seen, because we know there's not very many trans people out there that are competing in sports and want to compete in sports. I think that number is very small. Like, I'm an athlete and I really don't have any desire right now to go play professional sports where I'm currently at in my transition. I enjoy the gym. I enjoy doing that stuff, but I don't really want to compete. It's not really what I want to do, and I don't think a lot of trans people really do. So it's a very small minority. Mostly the reason why we haven't seen trans leagues popping up is because there's just not enough of us that want to compete. Now, I will link this article as well as the study below, but it's really nice to see that the science is starting to catch up with reality and what we've always known to be, or what we've at least had an inkling to be. And I think this is really important going in the future as we start to look at high school athletes, how long somebody's been on hormones compared to how far they went through male puberty and stuff like that. That's the data that I'm not really seeing a lot being pushed for, but I'm also not seeing it not being pushed for, right? So it's just not being talked about right now. It's really important that we get this data set, though, because right now I would advocate that we just reset to 0 and all trans people compete in the male division, because even as this guidance has stated, that there is obviously no advantage of a trans person competing in the male division. And that's what they're recommending. It's either an open category or they compete in the men's division. So there a lot of ways are advocating a reset, which I am absolutely fine with a reset like that. Then there's this one spot in this guidance where it takes a shot at self ID laws, which I think is really important when we are looking at this type of stuff. And this is kind of again what we've been saying for a while. It says competitive fairness cannot be reconciled with self identification into the female category in gender affected sports. I mean, this should be obvious. It, it's like a no brainer. It's basic biology. But when you have the gender ideologues claiming that biology doesn't exist, that I'm not a biological male, which I am, then we get into these things where we have to actually state this. It's amazing that we do. We have to acknowledge that there is a difference in men and women when it comes to physiology. So I definitely think this is a step in the right direction. I would again still like to see more studies coming out there. So I want to see stuff where it comes to people that would be affected by Title IX and stuff like that. But again, this is just it's a good push in the right direction. It's what we really need right now, and we just need a reset. And we'll kind of see how the powers that be on the grand global stage take this information and what they start to use with it. Do I have confidence? Not really, because this is just a UK study, and we've seen that we've already started to see the gender ideologues and stuff coming out and bashing this study just for telling the truth. So I think it's important that we keep this stuff handy when we see people pushing these social changes that really could put women at risk. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you click that subscribe button. Go follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all other platforms too, because I am usually on those platforms doing stuff. So make sure you follow me there, and I will see you next time.